It's funny, like every time I say the word like text ad or feeds, I feel like the two of you are looking at me like, come on, you're talking to the video guys. Like,
Yeah,
video
come on,
first.
man.
How about your videos?
What's a great way to build a trusted brand? Cory, do you know the answer? More video, right? That's
I mean,
all video. But I was hoping he'd say that.
Humans talk to humans. What we have found through our analysis is that when you look at the three areas you're going to run in, either YouTube proper, websites, or apps, right? You begin to see that a lot of the engagement, earned views, subscribers, shares, likes, happens more in platform, and for some advertisers at scale, 20x, 30x, when you compare it to websites or apps. And what that has me thinking about is that like that social engagement potentially means I'm reaching a richer audience, right? I might catch a conversion on this website, I might catch a conversion on this app, but those 10,000 other impressions, maybe nobody saw. And so shifting things more in platform, really educating advertisers to have this organic as well as this paid synergy, on YouTube is kind of what we try to help advertisers with, and what we've moved to as we've seen them begin to, make it mandatory that you have display and YouTube together.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of PPC Town Hall. My name is Fred Valles. I'm your host, as well as one of the co-founders and CEO at Optmyzr. So for today's session, we wanted to talk about a piece of news that's recently been broken by the Wall Street Journal, fairly reputable newspaper, and they said that 80% of ads on YouTube are violating YouTube's own terms of service. And that is not a good thing for advertisers, because that means that some of these ads are running in places that really aren't high quality. And as we all know, YouTube has previously gotten into trouble for showing ads next to somewhat offensive websites, offensive placements, and brand safety is a big thing for advertisers. So none of this is good news. So we wanted to talk about that. I wanted to bring in two experts on the video topic, because I'm not the video expert myself. So we have Joe Martinez and Cory Henke, who will share what they have heard, what they're doing, and share best tips and practices. So let's get rolling with another episode of PPC Town Hall.
Focusing a lot on YouTube, actually. We've had, I think, an influx of YouTube organic and YouTube paid strategies, and I'm also seeing more in the realm of entertainment, more in the realm of influencers, wanting to do more, ads on the platform. I think, even in our world of agencies, we've seen a lot of movement in YouTube in terms of, brands in our industry bringing their expertise to the platform. So I think it's just an exciting time, and I think YouTube's finally getting a share of its alphabet pie.
Joe, when did we last see each other? I think it was HeroConf, when that conference still existed, which has also gone a while now.
Yeah, the last one. Yeah, that's at least it was after COVID.
Exactly.
So
we want to do that. Yeah, I'm going back on the road for quite a few things here coming up soon. I'll be in Portland. I'll be in Austin, New York. So am I going to see you anywhere on the speaking circuit?
This has been an odd year. Everything that has popped up, like my wife has had work trips that coincide, and these are like mandatory ones for her, not like optional speaking ones for me. So I've had to take the back seat. This will be the first year in a long time where I've had zero speaking events this year.
Wow.
It's been crazy.
Everyone watching today, you're so lucky, because you actually get to hear from Joe, and even though you can't see him in person, you can share his wisdom. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. It's YouTube channel's still there, so there you go. That's my weekly speaking gig.
It's interesting, right? Because actually these things do scale significantly better than going to an in-person thing. But it's nice to be on the road, and it's nice to have that drink with someone and kind of like hear what's really going on. So let's drop some of the inhibitions here today, and let's like talk the truth. And it might actually be tough, because we're going to talk about Google and what they've been doing with YouTube. So to give context, again, there was this Wall Street Journal report. It was based on some data from Analytics, and they said something along the lines of 80% of the ads that advertisers are paying for on YouTube may not actually be on YouTube itself. They may be low quality placements, and so they are in a way violating YouTube's promise to advertisers of what they are paying for. Fill people in a little bit more on what's happening. And Cory, let's maybe start with you.
Sure. I think the report by the Wall Street Journal was interesting, but I think when you look at the Adlytics report that really went in depth, it showed a lot of the things that we always had worried about. It just never had hit YouTube until video action, started. When video action campaign started, they really began to couple, YouTube and the what they call the Video Partners Network, or they change that name all the time, together. And before, you used to just run on YouTube, and now you had both. And so you kind of had to, deal with the additional placement outside of, the YouTube platform. Now, what I find that is interesting is when you go through the Adlytics report, you find that a lot of the brands that they're using are bigger, mainstream, right? And not necessarily some of the stuff that I work on that is more direct response driven. And so I think when you run these conversion video action campaigns, you have less of a, I guess, worry about where the placement is placed if the conversions and the performance is there. And so when I saw the bigger brands and I saw their discomfort, with the placement, I began to sort of think that, if you put it in a cost per view campaign, you can segment, that to YouTube. And that was sort of Google's response. Whereas if you do want to segment, you can segment in a cost per view campaign. It's not necessarily a conversion campaign, but you do have the ability to just run on YouTube. And I thought, Google's retort with that gave them sort of a pretty good out there.
Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Cory nailed it. It's with the video action campaigns. I mean, when those came out, those are the objectives of sales leads and website traffic when you're creating a video campaign. Those objectives have been there forever, but when they've defined them specifically as video action campaigns, we used to have the ability to turn off display network with those. Eventually, through the video action campaigns, they removed that function. So if you want to run any video campaigns with those three objectives, you now have to be on the display network. You can't turn it off. If you want to, you have to create a campaign without a goals guidance and then build the custom one, like Cory said, the pure kind of CPV model. So the option is there. So I completely get Google's retort. That campaign objective that you can customize your own campaign has always been there. But to someone brand new into this who was like, yeah, of course I want more leads, they may not know that option is there. And especially if you're brand new and you don't have a ton of conversion history for a conversion focused campaign, we have seen that been kind of wasted spend. I mean, for the longest time, and even my presentations, I've always told people, always test out your campaigns turning off the display network. If you want more reach, you can always turn it back on. But it is something that we have definitely seen hurt client accounts when we have to be forced into that display network now, if their goals are very,
so sort of set a baseline on the highest quality networks and content. And in search, that was always Google search itself. And then you'd go on to search partners, perhaps. And then you'd go on to the display network. But even there, historically, we've seen things where Google opted everyone in and then has campaigns that combine the two together. And there's still good level of control. But like with anything Google Ads related, the push towards simplification often doesn't actually make things more simple, but pushes people to accept an automation on the premise that machine learning has gotten better. It's going to get you those good results, but along the way of getting there, it might make mistakes that you're not going to be super happy with. And unless you're an expert, you don't know what those settings are to kind of bypass or accelerate that learning phase.
Yeah, and it's loosely related, but with video action campaigns, you can't use manual placements anymore for specific YouTube channels or YouTube videos. That specific content placement part is also now pulled from video action campaigns. So when you also remove that setting, where you lose that specificity, and now you have to be more broad with video partners, we've seen certain accounts just blow up in a bad way, where we've just had to recreate it with the campaign without a goals guidance and do the best we can there.
I think also in Google's defense, right? Like when I look at the report and I see them go to different websites and find these ads that are in the corner, sound off, right, against sort of the terms of service that they mentioned with some of these placements. I guess from their perspective, I'd probably check the change history to see somebody looked at a placement report. We analyze so many YouTube like ad accounts where we find that like a DR advertiser is still running in music where somebody is not probably even seeing their ad. And I know Joe speaks on this and I speak on this a lot. It's like to make sure you check your placement report, just like you check your search terms report. Like you shouldn't be running in things, that don't necessarily make sense for your brand. And so from Google's perspective, I'd love to see how much cleanup these brands did, and if they did, they might have noticed some of these problems
So
potentially
in a
earlier.
way, I mean, what I'm hearing is this is forcing advertisers to start understanding some ads will play with the music and the sound off. Some ads will be below the fold. The reports are there to dig into that, and you need to take action on it. So what has that meant anything for your specific clients in terms of how you've? I'm assuming that you already did all of these things, right? So did anything change after this, or is this just like a come to Jesus moment for everyone else?
Yeah, I think the actual task of reviewing placements has always been there. It's just the quantity of different things now that we're seeing showing up. Like we can easily pull, there's certain terms I look at of within YouTube channels, like Vivo for the music one and everything. So you can try to find as many artist music ones and mass exclude them at the same time. Same thing with specific foreign language ones. Like now that we're starting to see display network in there, we're seeing a lot of, I'm pretty much, my clients usually based solely in at least North America area. So when we start to look at different ending of domains that are purposely in other countries that they know are either junk or just people that they can't do business with, we easily looking for a lot of those domains right off the bat to exclude them in the mix. And that's something that, we can kind of automatically pull now, but there's just
Right.
more
And
of
so I
them.
remember writing a script at one point which would look at placements and the country domain for those. And you could have a list and say like anything .ru or .pl for Russia. If you
Exactly.
find those, automatically
Exactly it.
negate them. Because with the placement exclusions, there is no like wild card sort of a thing to say by default exclude those. So you have to wait for it to happen so that you know what the actual placement is, and then you
Mhm.
can negate it. And then it's cool because you can have what like 65,000 ish negative placements across an account. And then we even built a tool in Optmyzr. It's basically like the smart exclusions tool. And what's neat is we look across the whole network of all of the advertisers that use Optmyzr. And if we start finding placements with lots of spend, no conversions, we can automatically add those proactively to all of the other accounts. So, you
Mm.
might be getting that bad traffic for a while, but everyone else is protected based off of what we learned from, a handful of advertisers.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess the probably an area, Corey, I'd be curious to hear what you have to say about this, but like we've always been more open with the placements for any sort of remarketing campaign because
Marketing, right? You're not targeting a
understand like
placement. You just want to show it to the people who.
yes, yeah, it's definitely for the person, and I'm probably more stringent, even if it is something like it's in market, full top of funnel type of reach thing. But for remarketing, especially a lot of our lead gen clients that longer sales cycles, they need to see your ad X amount of times. Like, cool, if they want to watch a Saturday Night Live video and then they're on ESPN and something, like, yeah, I'm gonna hit them a couple times, and if I'm swinging a miss because they're not fully paying attention to it at the time, it's like I'm gonna still hit them 10
Yeah,
12
and ultimately
times.
it's all about the bottom line, right? And I mean, if it's direct response, then you can measure what it costs, and you can tweak your bids up and down along the way, and you can have automated bidding handle much of that for you. Like ultimately, you're still achieving your goal, right? Like, Corey, how has it changed things
Mhm.
for your clients?
Um, I think we've taken a very unique approach and tried to really focus on cost per view campaigns. Go a little bit further higher in the funnel, leverage things like PMax, display retargeting with a very short leash, search to really drive that like down funnel action. And so we've kind of gone away a little bit, from conversion campaigns specifically for our bigger advertisers. I think some of the advertisers that do well on YouTube, don't really have brand safety, really looking to drive conversions with YouTube, yes, we're still using it there, but I'm kind of educating our advertisers to focus more on cost per view campaigns and focus more on the YouTube platform, especially with the new in-feed placement, because you're not going to get that, on the web, right? So it kind of guarantees you on the platform for the most part, I think. Things change all the time. But that's what we've done. Try to go a little bit more, top funnel, give the conversion campaigns a little bit shorter of a leash and kind of, really focus that way. Because what we have found through our analysis is that when you look at the three areas you're going to run in, either YouTube proper, websites, or apps, right? You begin to see that a lot of the engagement, earned views, subscribers, shares, likes, happens more in platform. And for some advertisers at scale, 20x, 30x, when you compare it to websites or, apps. And what that has me thinking about is that that social engagement potentially means I'm reaching a richer audience, right? I might catch a conversion on this website. I might catch a conversion on this app, but those 10,000 other impressions, maybe nobody saw. And so shifting things more in platform, really educating advertisers to have this organic as well as this paid synergy, on YouTube is kind of what we try to help advertisers with and what we've moved to as we've seen them begin to, make it mandatory that you have display in YouTube.
So you're taking a really holistic view and sort of acknowledging that the consumer has a much more complicated journey than they used to. And Joe, it's what you were saying too, right? Like they'll be on ESPN, they'll be on Saturday Night Live, they'll be on YouTube. And that's just the nature of how people behave. They're not going to stay just on one platform. But then in terms of measurements, let's talk about that maybe for a minute, right? So because I think at the end of the day, today we're still talking mostly about direct response of some sort. Do you measure that upper funnel, more brand sort of engagement in some way? And do you correlate that to the eventual action? And how do you do that?
Yeah, absolutely. We're doing a great job of marrying organic and paid, like putting them on the same dashboard. So we're seeing how they work together. I think one of the biggest impacts we've seen in the last 6 months is in-feed having an impact on growing organic. So in-feed from a paid perspective, growing organic because of the amount of impressions that you get. And then on the reverse side, shorts on the organic is now performing for the majority of the brands I look at better than long form, but only organically, not necessarily from a paid perspective. And so it's almost like you want to use shorts as a great way to bring your audience in and leave your long form when they want to engage and watch like long form content. But that's like what we're seeing right now. Again, things change, consistently, but that's how we're, looking at things. And then in platform, earned views, subscribers, those engagement metrics matter a lot because of the halo effect. And so we do look at, attribution coming from Google Analytics, Shopify, if you're, an e-commerce brand, and, seeing how YouTube, when active from a paid perspective, when the posting cadence is perfect and things are really fired up on organic, what does that do to our direct volume or organic volume on the website? And that's how we're really measuring it. But I'd say that the engagement metrics matter a lot to us when it comes to YouTube. It's not just it's not getting a, positive ROAS, I got to turn it off. It's let's look at a variety of different variables and see how, people are engaging with us, because I want people to understand, like, what is the difference? Like, what is better? Somebody watching 1 minute of your ad or your video, or coming to your website for 15 seconds, right? Like, we got to kind of look at that as, a pretty interesting comparison.
Yeah.
What is better? Oh, I mean, you're talking to the video guy. It's going to be a minute with your content. And the reason why I believe that, Fred, is because I think as humans, the same way that we run away from display ads and we have display, banner blindness, I think we also have like website blindness. Like, we don't want to go to websites. Like, we want to engage with your content on a platform. Like, I want to go watch your videos. I want to see what you did yesterday, on a place that I'm comfortable with, that I go to every single day. If I go to your website, that's a new experience. That's a risk, with my
And
time.
your
You
security,
know,
right? I
so
mean, you
I
don't
think
know.
there's a little bit of shift in behavior.
Exactly. I mean, there's so much sketchy stuff happening on the internet. You're right. If it's not a trusted platform, and maybe that's part then of the complaint that advertisers had a little bit. If you're buying on YouTube because you assume there's brand safety in YouTube, and now Google is like showing you in these different places, and again, it's that balance, right? Of you have to be where the consumers are, which is not always on YouTube. But if that's what you thought you were buying, then yeah, I can see where you might be somewhat angry. Um,
Yeah. And that was like the main benefit of InFeed, of what Cory was saying. Like, it's still so cheap to get someone to interact with your video content, and then you could see if they continue to watch other videos. Like, yeah, I'll pay 15 cents for someone to watch my video and then snowball them into a playlist. Absolutely, I'd pay for that all the time. It's just making sure that your clients have the cadence to have updated, because if you want to drive them to your channel, drive them to other videos, make sure that you have other videos consistently coming out. Otherwise, you drive them to a dead end, which is not what you want to do. But you can use all those engagement metrics for future remarketing campaigns, and that's
so that
something
makes me think about generative AI, right? If you don't have enough video content, Google basically puts out the promise that give us any long form video and we'll make these little clips from it. But I think a lot of advertisers are worried about what's that going to look like, what's going to be in it. So advertisers generally want control. Have you guys used generative to create more video content?
Not
I
current.
yeah, I haven't personally, because almost all of our clients from the vertical side are doing so much influencer
Mm-hmm.
UGC type content. And that's the one where we're more focused on making sure that we have enough ad sizes, because I have seen YouTube will crop your videos. They'll try to make a standard video vertical, and I have been too slow while watching it to take a screen grab, but some of them look absolutely horrible when they're cropped by Google. Some, not all. It's just words are cut off, people are split in half, type of thing. So we've honestly been lucky enough that I have clients that have invested into it, that we're using this video not only for just YouTube, but the vertical formats on Instagram, TikTok, and everything. We're doing a lot more outside of YouTube now, because this vertical video is way more easy to share on multiple platforms. So it's probably hurt some of the ad spend on Google,
Yeah.
because now we're spreading it to
And
other
one little
channels.
tooltip here, but so we use StreamYard to record these sessions. And now there's a capability to do recording of individual video streams. And we do it exactly for the reason that you said. We have this great view of us three on a side by side, but you want to take a great nugget that one of you guys said, and we have to crop it out. It's really hard because we might have a bottom third, and now you get like half a person's name on that, and like Cory's half over Joe's face. So we try to have all the videos individually,
Still be
and then
beautiful,
we can
though.
just leverage it and make something that works well. Um, yeah. Well, no,
Sorry.
seriously, we should like. What would a baby look like if it came from Joe and Cory? It'd be gorgeous. Oh
Oh
gosh,
gosh,
right?
dangerous.
Hair. Shave that baby's face.
I'm sure we can get some AI platform to put that together.
Yes, someone's gonna watch it and pull it together. Let's
Well,
see
another fun
let's
one
see
that
all
I
the
played
opinions.
with, and I want to hear from you next, Cory, but Midjourney, so you can feed it an image of yourself. It's basically what Lensa does, right? Lensa is the app, and you give it a few of your headshots, and then say like, make me look. The most recent one is you can look like Barbie, or in my case, Ken. And it's great. It's fun, but you can also go to Midjourney and you can just type in like, use this as a reference image and make me look like a Pixar character. And then it gives you a bunch of variations, and it's just like, oh my god, I don't like the way I look, so make me look like younger or less wrinkles, and wow, it's fantastic.
I think the beautiful part of AI is being able to take like a
Mhm.
style, make me a cartoon style, make me, like any sort of make me a Disney character, right? I just think it's beautiful in terms of, the creation that you can make. But yeah, I've been a fan of Midjourney, huge fan of ChatGPT. Everything AI has been super helpful,
The other
super
one I've
impactful.
tried was sorry, Joe,
Cory?
we're going to do next, but D
No, that's right.
Studio. So D Studio, you can take a static image of your face that you've just made into like a Disney character, and then you can give it a voice recording, and it'll animate your lips and your like eye movement and your head shaking. to that text, and now it's like you, and that's kind of what I'm talking about, right? Like if you're at a loss for video content, I mean, yeah, you could get GPT to write a couple of 30-second scripts. You can have a voice generator, clone it in your voice. You can have your AI character have the face, and now you put one and one and one together, and you've got unlimited content by you.
I think it puts the premium on the human. When we start to see more stuff like that, we will start to fall in love. I think with humans, with live. When we start to see more of that. But I will say, Fred, your presentation from SMX, what you did with your AI capabilities in terms of creating that video, the animation of yourself, I think was top notch. I even tried to, do the same thing, and it didn't work out, a fraction of as well. So if you ever decide to come out with a course,
a guide on how to do it.
That'd be nice.
I mean, I'm sure everyone's been in the boat of getting ad variants from clients can be pulling teeth sometimes. The video can go stale, pretty quick if you're not hitting with the right message and creative right away. So to have those options quick, especially for anyone on a low budget, is going to be extremely helpful for us.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to do another session and maybe a course with the two of you on some of the generative capabilities. It's certainly the hot issue these days, and everyone's we've all seen great examples, but then it's like, how do we actually make that work and make it work at scale? And that's the presentation I gave that Cory is referencing, is really about how to do generative at scale for PPC, because we can all go to ChatGPT and ask it for more headlines. But yeah, now I got to do that for 1,000 ad groups. Like, where's the plugin for Google Sheets? How do I feed that back into my Google Ads account, right? That's where it's really going to pay off for people like us.
I definitely use the ChatGPT for the call to action extensions for the video ads, because those character limits are so short where I struggle to what can I do in 10 characters? Do it for me. There we go. Now I have some options, industry specific, that fit. Boom. Makes it a lot easier.
I think my most recent thing that I did that was really cool is I had a YouTube audit, and they have 1 million subscribers. They spend like maybe $250,000 on YouTube a month. And I had ChatGPT go through all the placements. And so that's YouTube channels, websites, and then like apps, right? And then I said, give me topic categories, for all of them, like put them all into like categories. And then it says, well, we can do it this way, we can do it this way, or we can do it this way. And I said, okay, give me the placement in column 1 and give me each of the categories in the next, 3 columns, the way that you want to categorize it. And then it does it. And so now I have 3 pieces of information that I can go to the client with in terms of consumer, research that we've done. And I can now organize it in a way to say like, hey, this category, if you create more content here, is going to drive more conversions. This content category does have the highest click-through rate, does have the longest view time, but doesn't convert as well. And then when you're able to combine that information with what you find organically, you can then start to really create content that drives the action that you're looking for. Because we've worked with enough clients to know that is the thing that changes so often. One month it's, I want return on ad spend. The next month it's, you know what, we need to fill that retargeting bucket. Let's go after more reach, right? And so being able to access the information to drive that conversation or to have that creative, I think is, super important. It was beneficial during the audit that I just ran, but I still think we're at the beginning stages of this.
Yeah, I love that. Just using GPT or generative to categorize things and figure out what's most and least relevant. So that's, and I know we talked about this before, right? But that's what I was doing with search terms. I was basically saying, here, I've got a website for Optmyzr. We do PPC management software. Here's a bunch of queries that Google has shown my ad for. Rank them from most to least relevant. And then, it's thousands of queries, but now I look at the least relevant, like 50. And it's like, oh, these might be good negative keyword ideas. And it's not 100% accurate, of course, but it just helps you focus in the places, and it helps you, like you said, have a conversation with the client, kind of steer it. Because as we all see, the more that automation takes over, you're not going to get 100% accuracy in everything. You're going to have to, take some of the low quality stuff with all the results that it can produce.
And we started to lose or search term data. Let's see if we start to lose placement data eventually.
Sure.
Yeah, maybe that leads a little bit into Performance Max, which I know everyone loves talking about. So let's go there for a minute. But sort of that vision from Google, like everyone should do Performance Max all the time, and it's replacing it has replaced smart shopping campaigns. It's looking like it's going to replace DSA ad groups. What's next, right? Like, and how do you use the video capabilities of PMax vis-a-vis maybe the unique or the YouTube video campaigns? Do they have any benefit?
We've had the best success we just ended one automated rule. We're shutting things off yesterday at the end of July. We had a client, for those short sprint, hey, we want to do this holiday in July, or Black Friday in July type campaign, short run. Like, if people are searching for something like this, we also want to build awareness at the same time. We have videos for it here that we're not going to run evergreen clearly, because it's going to end at a specific date. So those short sprints, we really have used Performance Max for them, because it saves us time from building out 3-4 different campaigns that we would need to. It all has the same goal and objective to build awareness and hopefully drive sales for it directly from it. So that is honestly where we've really capitalized Performance Max the most. Anything evergreen, we're still keeping in separate YouTube campaigns and display campaigns. But that's where I've seen, with video being a big part of it, that has been probably our biggest success with Performance Max.
And building off of that too, we do see the most success of PMax when video is included, when we are getting video impressions and video views. We used to tell advertisers, 16 by 9, we'll run their YouTube, or we're tossing in Performance Max. We now go to advertisers and ask for 16 by 9, 9 by 16, and 1 by 1 for every single creative that they have. And we put an importance on it. Is that, like, to Joe's point earlier, you don't want, Google to optimize your video. You want to give it the exact assets that it needs. But also we see that it works better. I just think that Performance Max is just so new. We don't have a lot of history on, like, campaign setup. Like, how do you really, like, maximize, like, the product sets, and, like, how do you organize your asset groups in the right way to really drive performance? And then also, all brands are different, and they keep launching new features, like excluding your brand terms. You can see this, but you can't see that. So it's one that I'm still giving a very short leash to. But when it comes to video, 9 times out of 10, 9.5 times out of 10, it'll work better than not having video.
Yeah, you said something, Cory, that reminded me of, we still tell our clients now, we're not going to run a Performance Max campaign for you unless you have video, because Google did say at one point, if you don't have video, they're going to create some slideshow looking video from your images, and it just looks like garbage. So I don't know if that's still true, but that is exactly why we haven't run Performance Max for anyone unless they had a video that made sense for it. So we can at least control that aspect of it.
And I wanted to ask you a question, Joe, about that campaign that you ran where Performance Max, did well Black Friday, like in July, and you had everything else, like, off. Did that start that way, like brand new ad account, or was it in a place where you turned everything off and just was running PMax and a little bit of YouTube?
Well, we still had. I'm sorry, I turned off that campaign. I said yesterday, just for, like, short sprint. It was for that campaign. I didn't turn it all off the other campaign. So they were still running some evergreen stuff. They've always had remarketing up. They've always had display remarketing up running a long time. But just for that campaign focus, it was only PMax that we did.
Got it.
And then cannibalization is often a big concern for advertisers. So when you had that short duration PMax campaign, did you find the other campaigns kind of dropped in volume, or was it pretty steady there?
It was maintained. Most of the traffic that we could pretty much say was coming from top of funnel awareness type of traffic, because it was more additional for it. We didn't see any traffic getting hurt from it. So, but that was the benefit, because this is not a e-com company that has t-shirt deals all the time. So this is just a rare thing that they wanted to build awareness for it. And that's where it benefited from, driving more traffic. And then we saw, not directly from Performance Max campaigns, but we saw via other channels, either people coming direct, email was a big part of it too. People get on the email list and then they're coming back and converting. We saw lifts there that couldn't normally be attributed to the Performance Max campaigns, but they weren't doing any other advertising for these landing pages. So we could kind of see those lifts from there.
Yeah, nice. So it was incremental. And then it also kind of makes sense, right? So if you're trying to build awareness for a thing you're not generally known for, PMAX seems really good because it's got discovery ads, which is a bit of a social kind of, or it's similar to a social experience. It's got video, which is more upper funnel. So that all makes a ton of sense. What we see though is if you're really in e-commerce and you have different product categories, there's a lot of benefit to setting up separate PMAX campaigns so you can have different TROAS goals based on the margin of each product category. Otherwise, you're going like super extreme into really portfolio bid management where the crap is subsidized by the really good stuff. So you might still get overall good results, but you're not really seeing where the optimization opportunity would have been. And then for a lot of advertisers, that's fine, right? Like you were saying too, there might be an agency relationship where it's like, listen, your agency already has so much work maintaining evergreen campaigns, making new video content. Like they just can't take on this additional thing. But thanks to PMAX, you actually can and get reasonable results. So then it's definitely a win-win.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, Black Friday in July, the actual Black Friday is not that far away. So did you learn anything from that campaign or anything that you guys are thinking about heading into Q4 that's related to video that advertisers should be doing now?
We have still seen that the earliest they can get the deal, they'll buy it. So it's people aren't waiting anyway. We've still seen that since COVID. I don't know if it was for all the panic buying that is still stuck in people's heads, but inflation, whatever, if there was a good deal out there, people are going to capitalize it because the offer we were showing was something that was good to use in Q1 of 2024. So it's get it now because by the time the actual Q4 comes, this deal's not going to be around anymore. So we're kind of pushing that kind of aspect of it. So we've had clients now that are starting earlier. We hear it every year anyway, right? Black Friday is just earlier every year. I mean, to me, that's still
listen, I'm already stressed,
so,
to be honest.
Yeah.
Like I was stressed last month. I was like, shit, Christmas is like literally tomorrow in my mind. Tomorrow, it's 6 months away. We're about as far away from it as we can be. But I felt stressed because my campaigns weren't ready. Like I haven't bought gifts yet. So yeah, I mean, some people will be buying in January for Christmas.
I already have one Christmas gift for my daughter purchase.
Wow.
So, like it's no, right? Oh shoot. No. Door's closed now. But I mean, it's that if I see something that I want, or I know somebody else is going to want, I think nowadays people are just going to get it and hold on to it. So, we have plans in motion for certain clients. It's not applicable to all of our clients and a lot of B2B lead gen type stuff, but we have plans in place to really start pushing deals early. It doesn't matter if it comes in December or October. In their eyes, they're like, if we can get it all in October and just make the end of the year a lot easier and we don't have to panic and rush at the end of the year, fine. We're going to do it. And we're going to beat our
What's the strategy around deals? Are you using any feed to push those deals in? Are you updating the video creative with deals? Is it the associated text? Like, how do you push what the deal is?
Specific video for it, for sure. And then very ad specific one. So I just have a habit of creating different campaigns for them. I honestly don't like to just mix in my promo ads with my regular ads. I like to fully have a dedicated ad campaign for it. That's typically how I've always done it. So then I have control, give it the dedicated budget at the campaign level. And then from there, that's what I'd prefer.
It's funny, like every time I say the word like text ad or feeds, I feel like the two of you are looking at me like, come on, you're talking to the video guys. Like, video first, update your videos.
Yeah, come on, man.
I do really love messing with page feeds though. That's one of the dork search things I do. I love doing it and using just dynamic insertion within ad copy. I do love it, but I don't do it as often as I want to. Cory's like, no.
The feed is like the bane of my existence.
Shopping
You
feeds
know,
I hate.
it's
Like page feeds are okay.
any feed, man. You know,
I love
except for in feed.
structured data. Love it. Q4, Cory, what are you doing? Worried about it already? Or,
I think
like the relaxed Cory we always see?
I think this Q4 is a different Q4. You know, I think in-feed is one of those placements that all of our advertisers are running, and I'm letting them know that, like, I don't know how things are this cheap or how they will stay this cheap. So that's your greatest way, I think, to build a large audience that knows what your brand is before you get into that like late October, early November, when you decide to really say like, hey, this is the product for you. And to Joe's point, like all of our advertisers for a while have been, you know, doing their Black Friday deals either the first week of November, the second week of November. And it's very strategic because CPMs and CPCs are cheaper. They get to own that week, own that audience, you know. And so we've really tried to help advertisers understand to go before Black Friday, see what those results are. And then now you still have the actual Black Friday to see what you want to do. And then we work with them over those days to like really educate them on, you know, how expensive things are, what that return on ad spend is going to be, and you know, how hard they want to push with what they have left over from you know, the previous sale. But you know, to Joe's point, all of it includes video. I think video is only advanced. And to Joe's point earlier about like being able to take some of the assets that we have that are vertical and stretch them across multiple platforms. I mean, Reels, Stories, TikTok, and Shorts, right? With one video. And then being able to see like where it works, what type of reach, what is the difference in CPM. I think those are great comparisons, you know, to have. And so it's different this year. You know, I think the thing that I said about like the 9x16, 16x9, and 1x1, we got to have this for every creative. If we've got something for prospecting and retargeting, we got to have that set of 3 for each. You know, but that is, you know, video is just more of an important thing. It's mandatory now. You're not going to get away without it. But from a YouTube standpoint, cost per view campaigns leading in, broad reach, like really bringing people into your brand is what, you know, I want our advertisers to do.
And even on the search results pages, I don't know if you guys have an opinion, but with the generative system that Google now has, it feels like the whole traditional SERP is being pushed to the bottom of the page. But then the videos are still fairly prominent. There seems to be a shift towards people wanting to consume video content, even for, you know, usual text searches. Can you hear the rooster in the background? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
you
that
can. I thought it was like a phone alarm or something.
No. That was amazing.
Okay, well,
It's
we're
amazing.
having chicken for dinner tonight, I think.
Cory said something too that just made me think of, you know, you look at your analytics, look at your CRM, like at that Q4 time, like when do people really start to buy? Well, now you have that main purchase peak, and hopefully you can find consistencies throughout the years. If you know like when's the main point that people buy, then we like, cool, well, we need to, for this year, we need to really get in front of that and build the awareness. So when they're looking to buy at that moment, that you're there, you're top of mind. So you're planning your video strategy to have the awareness there for weeks before they're actually making that decision. So not only are you building new awareness when most people buy, but for the people who already know that they want a product like yours, that you're always on top of mind. So when the time comes, it's you that they think of. So try to look, if you have that historical data, try to find out when people typically buy your product.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. There's also the Merkle RKG report just came out, the one that has like the industry benchmarks on CPCs. And speaking of things like try to advertise when it's cheap, build your audiences around that. That report was actually saying that CPCs are up, and in large part it seems driven by Temu, the new Chinese e-com company that's competing with Amazon. It's now apparently competing on more searches than even Walmart. So that is a significant change in the landscape that, unfortunately for advertisers makes things more expensive. So even what you saw last year, look at the date-wise trends, but keep in mind that there are new competitors that are just jacking up prices.
Yeah.
I've been watching these search CPCs. And it is a consistent conversation with our clients is, do we pay the premium, for the intent? And, I believe it's an interesting, conversation as they begin to rise. And I'd love to ask you, Fred, like, have you seen it, like on your end, the way that the search results, are being pushed down? Like, will we begin to see like all websites like just have less traffic? And, does that put a premium with less searches on these,
I think so.
keywords and search terms? And so therefore, what can you do but start to look elsewhere if things become inefficient?
Yeah, I mean, you get zero-click searches going up because generative is basically answering the question right there without you having to go to an organic website. So it certainly talks about what's the value of even having a website that's just informational. Um, right, transactionally, obviously, there's a lot of reasons why you want to have your own website, but even that is being challenged by Amazon's Prime Buy Now button, which you can now basically put on any website if you fulfill through Amazon. Um, right? So Amazon is just usurping more of those consumers, and again, with that trust element that we're talking about, yeah, I prefer to click on the Amazon button where I know what's going to happen with my credit card than trust it to another website. But yeah, I mean, I think it's to be seen what happens. The other big question is what is Google doing inside those generative sections? There just is less space for ads, but they are starting to show ads. But it's that drive towards, we used to have 12 ads on the page, and then it was like the top four on the page that mattered, and now it's like not even those are really seen anymore. It's maybe the one or two that make it into the generative section. So like owning it and owning it because you're most relevant, most trusted. And that's where I think the move towards authority, right? Like the people you trust, the brands you trust, they're going to have a leg up because they're going to have an easier time getting to be those one or two that Google shows. Um, Microsoft's approach to the whole thing is a little bit more conservative, which is actually funny because you would think that Microsoft, being the number two in search, um, would be able to be more aggressive, but they make the generative component be, it's on the right side of the page, so the traditional SERP is still much like it was before, and Google's just like messing with it like we've never seen before.
Yeah. What's a great way to build a trusted brand? Cory, do you know the answer? More video, right? That's just
I mean,
all video, but I was hoping he'd say that.
Humans talk to humans, right? I think it's a great way. I was on a consulting call for like for YouTube Organic, and the client asked like, "Hey, like, should we still have like me as like the face of like the channel? Like, does that like make sense for like a brand?" And I'm just like, I don't see when it doesn't. Like, people want to know like who's running a company. I think the companies and the things that we don't like is when we can't, talk to somebody, when we don't know who is at the top of it, when we don't know who is, really at the helm or what they created. And so I think it's one of the most powerful pieces is having that figurehead. But when you combine it with video, yeah, that's going to be that accountability. That's going to be that trust. And so, Fred, is there ever a time where like, video is important, to search, where like if I search for something, and they've got to figure out, well, I got to show this brand or this brand, but this brand has a channel and I can see a face on it. So let me show that instead.
I completely
Right.
agree. I mean, and
I don't
listen,
know.
like we're a PPC management company, but like our whole marketing strategies around building trust, and I mean the videos we're doing today, like we're not going to sell anything directly from this, but people are hopefully going to hear like, yeah, these guys have thought about the industry and how things work, and they kind of have a decent opinion on it. And at some point, maybe they'll have a need for something like what one of us does, and they'll remember that face, and they'll just be inclined to, like you said, it builds the brands, it builds the trust, and then the transaction becomes that much easier. That's why we do it.
That's why
Yeah,
we do our channel. We've never have hired a
yeah,
salesperson.
yeah. We have an extremely small sales team. They're not aggressive. It's basically, hey, if you finally decided that we have a tool that might help you, we're happy to show it to you. And then if you decide it's right for you, buy it. If not, like, come back when it is right for you, or tell us why it's not right, and we'll go and maybe make some product updates. We love doing product updates. But like one of the things you were saying too, the benchmark CPC. So we have this new tool now where we show you your CPC is up 10%, but in your country, in your vertical, maybe it's up 20%. So that's hard data to get, right? But now you know that, hey, maybe I'm not doing as poorly as I thought I was. My work on my PPC account is actually making us go up less in cost than everyone else. That's valuable, right? And so, and these are the types of things we look at the feedback from these videos, and that's why I love going to conferences, because you get to talk to people in person and actually figure out like what really matters, what's really the pain point. Because you hear these great.
I was just about to say, can you do that with CPVs too? Yeah, I see
Yes.
Cory's face.
Okay, there's the feedback. Hey, Optmyzr team, when you see this video, add CPV to the industry benchmarks.
Yeah, there we go.
Well, we need a little bit more. We need actually like primary and secondary benchmarks for YouTube.
So yeah, Cory, you can talk to me. Anyone else, put it in the comments what you'd like to see in terms of video benchmark data. And if we have the numbers, if we have the data from Google, we're happy to put it on the dashboard. Yeah. Well, always really fun to talk to you guys, and thank you so much for sharing all the wisdom and what you have seen. Very broadly, not just based off of this recent Google report, but how you're managing campaigns. People love learning from you. So, Cory, can people catch you in a session somewhere coming soon? Follow you.
I don't have anything booked yet, but I will be speaking at the Smash conference in October. And so that's in Las Vegas. It's more of a health focused conference, kind of verticalized, not something, specific to our industry, but that's it.
And if they want to follow you otherwise, are you on
YouTube? It's at Cory Henke on Twitter, YouTube, and variable.media website.
Do people still say Twitter?
Oh. This is the same problem with that Meta rebrand, right? Like we say Facebook ads for like everything. And so I think that this Twitter thing is going to live for a little bit.
We still call all of our Facebook related videos Facebook ads instead of Meta ads, because look at the search history. No one's searching Meta ads. They're all still searching Facebook ads. So that's what we're still going to name our videos. We know we're wrong, but we don't care.
See? And that's why you go with the Paid Media Pro, man.
That makes you sound like an OG, right? When you still talk in the old terms. So where can people...
Yeah. I don't say AdWords anymore, though. It just...
Yeah. Occasionally it's... Okay, Joe, where can people get a hold of you?
Personal on the X, it's Milwaukee PPC. Also on the X, there's at Paid Media Pros. That's the YouTube channel, and then it's Paid Media Pros on YouTube as well. That's probably the best way to get a hold of us.
And then you can find me at Silicon Valleys on the X. I love how you did that. And yeah, if anyone wants to try out Optmyzr, we got the 2-week free trial, so check that out on optmyzr.com and subscribe to the channel. We'll have more PPC Town Hall soon with other PPC pros, and Paid Media Pros will be back on again, I'm sure. So Joe, Cory, thank you so much. Everyone, thank you for watching, and we'll see you for the next one.
Thank you.